They want to restore the Russian Empire.
It's a weapon which is left behind.
It's a hybrid warfare attack. They use those people like a weapons.
A razor wire fence on Europe's eastern border with Belarus, as Latvia tries to fight what it describes as a hybrid war involving illegal immigrants and overall Russian influence in the country. Welcome to Beyond Borders. As a supposed poster girl for Russian propaganda, this Russian-Latvian diabetic Natalia is unlikely to be many people's idea of what a danger to national security looks like. Are you a threat to Latvian?
Угроза. Yes, I am. Вот какая угроза.
Or her neighbour Tatiana, who's just had her legal residence permit cancelled because she speaks only Russian and didn't re-register to take a Latvian language exam after failing first time round.
Возраст уже. Какой он? И вообще, зачем он мне нужен? Вот зачем? Я работала, налоги платила.
But these pictures of 74-year-old Natalia Kodjigorova, seen on TikTok around the world, being carried upstairs and forced to take the test when she's never spoken Latvian, have made her and others in her position central to an increasingly angry debate about polarization in Latvia, the divide between ethnic Russians, who make up a third of the population, and those who believe Russian influence is undermining Latvian society.
Some of those people are very loyal to the Russian Federation as well. If we are looking,
She's an old lady who can't walk.
Of course, and in Ukraine you can see quite many old people who are giving coordinates to the Russian military.
At the border with Belarus, we're shown surveillance cameras designed to spot mostly Middle Eastern and African migrants, who we're told are being helped to the Latvian border by Belarusian border guards. Another form, it's claimed, of destabilization from a Russian ally.
This border patrol station Šķaune is responsible for 40 kilometers of Belarusian and the Latvian border.
And how many people try to cross every day?
About more than 100, 150. For example, last night it was 220 persons.
Did you catch them all?
Yes, they was catched and they pushed back to
the Belarusian side.
Belarusian, because it's not allowed to illegally cross the border and to ask for the political protection.
Did you have to use weapons to push them back?
No, we don't use the weapons. We just say him to go back. If they come inside, we try to push them back.
What about the Belarusian border guards? Are they helping them? You believe they're helping them?
Yes, of course we believe that they help them. We have a lot of people who try to cross this border illegally.
You said 10,000 last year, did you?
During this year, already about 10,000. Last year it was 7,000.
Latvian troops have now been brought in to back up the border guards, and Colonel Kasatkins takes us to the fence that separates the two countries.
When they try to cross this fence, yes, we have already time to react, because the main idea to get more time for reaction.
So the bits where they come through, because you said there are more than 10,000 already this year, that is where there is no fence.
Yes, but also they try to damage fence by the support of Belarusian state institutions. At this moment, it's a hybrid warfare attack.
But why is it a hybrid war? In what way?
Because they use those people like weapons.
A former Deputy Prime Minister is with us.
where Russians are simply claiming that they are somehow oppressed, or their citizens which are living actually here are somehow oppressed. This imperial nature of Russian policies towards their neighbors, smaller neighbors, former colonies like Latvia, will be used if they will see that there is internal divisions or insecurity or kind of unwillingness to stand for our values or our borders, and they will push more. We simply state that this is an independent country, this is an independent state, and we are living according to our rules here. So, if you live here, you have to obey the rules which apply to every individual, either Russian or Roma or German or Latvian equally.
As we leave, we're stopped and questioned by Polish border guards there to assist the Latvians. They're looking for migrants who may have been picked up by people smugglers in a vehicle like ours. The border with Russia is another potential flashpoint. This is Terahova, where people have slept outdoors or in their cars for days. There are a number of Ukrainian vehicles here, though none of the occupants would talk to us. A week after we leave, Russia says it's making it easier for Ukrainians to enter the country, and Latvia retaliates by closing 2 border crossings because of what it calls a threat to national security. Zilupe is a small town just 10 minutes from where we'd been to the Russian border. If there is any cross-border conflict, the people here will be on the front line. More than half the town's inhabitants are ethnic Russians. This farmer tells us how his workers recently found 2 migrants on his land. They gave them water and called the border guards. He says he doesn't want or expect any trouble.
Viņi ir sveši. Mēs nezinām, kas viņi vispār ir. Un kādas viņam domas, kādas viņam redzējums uz mums, uz mūsu zemi, un kādi iemesli, kādu motīvu vadīti vispār viņi nāk uz šejieni. Es domāju, ka robežu ir jāsargā, un to nelegālo migrantu plūsmu ir jāierobežo visiem iespējamiem līdzekļiem. Kāpēc viņi to nedara? Kāpēc jāgriež žoks un jāiet kaut kur pa mežu? Priekš tam ir robežu kontrolas punkts, un prasi tur patvērumu. Kāpēc tu ej pa mežu un griež žogu, ko kāds ir uzbūvējis? Ir tāda sajūta, kad pabeidz darbu uz kāda lauka vakarā un ej uz mašīnu, nezinu, no kuriem krūmiem viņš varētu izlīst. Tāda drusku nedrošība sajūta zināma ir.
A Zilupe Latvian dance group is rehearsing for a 10th anniversary production. Among the performers are 2 already defending their country's borders.
Es mīlu Latvijas patriotu. Es mīlu šo zemi, pa kur es staigāju, un tāpēc es arī izvēlējos to profesiju.
Man patīk savu profesiju. Mums jau 4 gadi atpakaļ gājuši vietnamieši. Viņi gājuši pāri robežai, mēs ar suņu aizturējam. Viņš, kad gājam patruļi, ieraudzījām pēdas, ar suņam sakam jau tur vaic tur pēdas, un aizturējam, viņa tur bija krūmas. Un par to saņēmu vēl krušu nozīmi.
A new law means that schools will soon have to teach only in Latvian. In Daugavpils, capital of the largest ethnic Russian province in the country, Russian is being phased out and is only available in one specialist literature class, where the teacher talks to us in her Russian mother tongue.
Has something important been taken away from the children with these laws?
Чего-то важного, я думаю, что да. Формирование человека, он происходит на родном языке. И когда нет возможности формировать свою личность именно на родном языке, думать все основные навыки, это сложно. Это теряется тот, возможно, культурный бэкграунд, который существовал раньше. Да? И вот теряется, наверное, связь между поколениями во многом.
I and my friends speak only Russian. In family, only Russian, but with teachers sometimes speak Latvian because it's necessary.
We can speak in Russian, Latvian, it doesn't matter, so it's not a problem for us.
I speak Russian since childhood. Latvian other side speak only Latvian and they hate Russians. I think it's not normal. People need to support other people.
The school head says parents agreed that this should happen.
Some people are very angry that their culture is being subsumed, covered up, they say. Do you understand that anger?
Ļoti grūts jautājums. Īpaši mūsu pilsētā, tāpēc, ka mūsu pilsētā ir daudz cilvēku no visādām konfesijām un tā tālāk. Tur ir krievi, balkrievi, poļi un tā tālāk. Jā, mēs tagad spiežam uz vienotu valodu, spiežam valsts programmā. Un cilvēkiem jāsaprot, protams, nebūs tā, ka 100% būs visi cilvēki apmierināti. Nebūs nekā tāda.
In a museum for First World War memorabilia run by her husband, we meet a woman whose brother Sergei has left Latvia permanently for Russia. He says the treatment of ethnic Russians in Latvia was the last straw. She sets up a call between us and him in his new home of Nevel, not far from Russia's border with Latvia.
Why did you leave Latvia?
Потому что Латвия приняла закон такой, там, о сдаче латышского. Латышский я не сдам, я решил уехать, и все.
Did he feel persecuted?
Просто раньше было нормально, давали вид на жительство на 5 лет. А теперь они вид на жительство аннулировали. Здесь в России меня приняли хорошо. Мне языковые проблемы сейчас не волнуют.
This is an occasional help centre for ethnic Russians in Daugavpils who are concerned about new laws. The United Nations says it's worried about what it calls the severe curtailment of minority language education.
On December 6th, TV Rain Channel's license was cancelled in Latvia.
A number of Russian broadcasts from inside Latvia have recently been banned, which the European Broadcast Union says will leave Russian speakers exposed to fake news and propaganda from what it calls other, less reputable outlets. A proposed law would mean that from 2026, all public broadcasts will have to be in Latvian. With criticism growing, Latvia has now given Russian speakers more time to pass the tests. But the new 2-year deadline to do that and therefore get, or simply keep, EU permanent resident status is still a concern.
It may well be another 2 years before these regulations are fully enforced, if they ever are, but all the talk in a largely Russian-speaking area such as this has brought with it a real sense of mistrust and anxiety.
Чувствуется очень, потому что зажимается родной язык. Пожилых людей жалко вдвойне, потому что они всю жизнь отжили со своим родным языком, и сейчас, когда им стоит, либо вы здесь сдаете, либо вы должны уехать, я считаю, это неправильно. Работать, потому что постоянные проверки с латышским языком, очень все давит, атмосфера, и люди стали сейчас очень злые друг к другу.
Мне кажется, что ситуация не очень нормальная, но это мое мнение, да. У нас была одна большая страна, Большой Советский Союз, да. Как можно человеку сказать, поменялось все 30 лет назад, и объяснить ему, сказать, что ты родился в другой стране, и ты должен уехать отсюда. Я родился в той стране, в которой я родился. Я родился в Советском Союзе. Если вы что-то там решили поменять, то вы не должны менять мое место жительства. Вы не должны мне говорить. Везде живут в странах, например, в Швейцарии, 4 государственных языка. Многонациональная страна. Нет никаких проблем.
It's not just the Russian language. New laws brought in after Russia's attack on Ukraine will see as many as 300 sites said to be of Soviet influence destroyed. This was the 79-metre Soviet victory monument in the capital Riga.
Mstislav Keldysh, brilliant mathematician born here in the Latvian capital Riga, dead for almost 45 years now. The reason why this has become important is that they say, those people that want this monument torn down, that he was behind the Soviet missile program. He was part of the space program, but he was behind the missiles that are now currently being used against Ukraine, that he stood for war, all that was wrong with the Soviet Union.
In the context of the Ukrainian war, it's more than trash. It's a weapon which is left behind to remind that there are people who worked for Stalin. Name any Berlin street, square where the Adolf Hitler stays there just because he was the past of that country.
Yes.
Would
okay.
you say that there should be Rosenberg?
I'm saying you're alienating the Latvian Russians and blaming them for what happened in the Soviet Union. It's not their fault at all.
It's lie. You're lying, saying such a statement. Everyone who is coming to University of Latvia, they look at him and they fear because they think maybe they will come back. Maybe they will come over our border. It's not normal.
We are people who keep memories.
It's a memory of occupation, it's a memory of oppression as well.
Yes, this is an idea that our governors try to implement into our minds, but this is not correct. These are the monuments for people who participated in this war and fight it against fascism. That's it. If it wasn't for those fighters, Latvia would be taken over by Nazis.
Well, it was taken over by the Soviets.
No, it wasn't, because I grew up. I was born here in Latvia in Soviet time. I grew up here in Latvia. We had 2 schools. We had everything in both languages, okay? Latvians knew Russian. What's the problem about it? Now Russians know Latvian. What's the problem about knowing another language?
But it was forced upon Latvians.
I don't think it's a topic of our conversation.
Don't destroy them, change them, says this artist, who wants to split this statue in half to emphasize divisions.
Our nation is split. We haven't found solutions to our problems. If we, as we are today, if we were put in that situation during the Stalinist time, during 40s, 50s, who knows how we would have reacted? We cannot say. We like to think that we are very pure and these are bad people and we want to get rid of them, but it may happen that if Russia takes over and we are occupied, many of us would align with this new regime.
Questions of allegiance and wrong or right choices are then highlighted to us by the man we met at the start of this programme, a member of Parliament who's head of Latvia's National Security Commission, the body that assesses what threats the country faces.
If you want to understand the situation here in Latvia, it is very important to look back into the past when Latvia was occupied by the Soviet Union, and what the Soviet Union did was basically the same it is doing in Ukraine and other parts. They killed very many Latvians, did ethnic cleansings in some parts.
So are you punishing these Russians because of what the Soviets did?
You have to understand that some of those people still remain loyal to the Russian Federation. They want to restore the Russian Empire.
I don't mean to be rude, but the people we met, with people we saw struggling with these exams, were mostly older people. They didn't understand why this was happening to them, and yet you're suggesting they are perhaps a threat to national security.
Some of them are, of course. Some of them are. Some of them are.
Why, of course?
What, please?
You said, of course.
Yeah, because already we have the national security services looking into those personal profiles, and there are some people who are very loyal and coordinating their actions with Russia. Using the Russian propaganda narratives right now.
Well, I have seen the documents that they have to fill in, and they're confused.
Yeah, and do you know that the same documents they have to fill if you are, for example, I don't know, Kazakhstan citizen who wants to receive the permanent residency permit here in Latvia, you have to fill in quite the same documents. You have to take the language exam.
Do you in any way feel sorry for them? They say they're being persecuted, those that we've spoken to.
Who has been persecuted, then those are the people that are dying right now in Ukraine. Those are the people who died during the Soviet occupation period. Those were crimes against humanity. Those people who right now are basically taking Latvian language exams as other third country nationals, that's not persecution.
So, dangerous or persecuted? The answer could be neither. A young mother and father we meet who have family in Russia and in Latvia suggest they're being used.
Это все придумано российской пропагандой. Они все это пытаются раздуть, выдергивая из контекста те или иные законы, которые в том числе были приняты и после начала войны.
Are they trying to create a two-tier class system whereby those people who feel affinity with Russia are second-class citizens?
No, I wouldn't say that. I think it's a hard time also for the government in our society, maybe in general, to find the balance, to communicate between different language groups as well. In general, I wouldn't say they're trying to divide or something.
Young and old. The average age of these Latvian Russian singers, we're told, is mid-70s. Walter Esser is the oldest, and in the 1940s, his German background meant that he and his family were sent to Siberia by the Soviets.
You've seen the problems with Nazi Germany, you've seen the problems with Stalin. Is there anything that makes you really sad these days after what you've lived through?
Почему? Сегодня очень радостно, что у нас нормально. Мы радовались, когда, по сути дела, Латвия стала независимой. Вот, и как-то так это хорошо воспринимали. Ну и патриот.
When you sing like this, do you think of Latvia as your home or Russia as your home?
Мы поем песни разных национальностей. Ну, в первую очередь песни латвийские, песни русские, песни украинские, песни иногда белорусские.
Are there problems between Latvia and you Latvian Russians here at the moment?
Нет никаких проблем. Вы же видите, мы занимаемся, поем, отдыхаем, ездим на экскурсии, даем многочисленные концерты. Завтра будет большой концерт.
Tomorrow and today, singing, teaching, on patrol at the border. All those we meet are trying to make sense of what's being said about them and their motives. While Latvia is nervous about provocations, either inside the country or on its borders, you wonder whether Natalia Kochigorova, who can hardly see or move one of her arms, as well as being diabetic, is really likely to be giving military secrets and troop coordinates to Moscow.
Что я думаю на этот счет? Это на грани маразма. Это маразм, самый настоящий маразм.
Or, like so many others, is she one of those simply caught in an as yet invisible, but still wounding, crossfire?